I don't know if you can hear that, but you can probably see that little ear that's right there. He's nibbling on his bed because he's insisting on being in this room. So we're just going to deal with that. But he's here. He is in his bed. So we'll see if we can get through this without him barking. I'll have to use my therapist voice and be very quiet. Now I've messed up my camera. Okay. Anyway, today, exciting topic, as is every topic, because I am A, biased, and B, I think that all these topics are equally important. So each and every one of them is exciting in a new and different way. But anything that talks about spirituality for me, if you know me at all, you know this is like my absolute jam. It's the entire reason I'm doing this particular career, that I followed this path, that I'm living my purpose. It's because of my connection to spirituality and just kind of following my intuition and following the breadcrumbs and having absolute faith that I was making the right decisions for myself. It's what brought me here. It's what brought me to you. It's the reason I stand in front of you week after week. It's the reason I show my face the way I do. It's the reason I continue to do this work and continue to pursue this goal and continue to support as many women as I can in their own journey to worthiness. It's because of that element of that spirituality, because it really was a force to absolutely be reckoned with. And I'm going to try not to, during this talk today, to refer back to my own journey with spirituality as much, because I did a whole separate video on that. You can probably find it in the archives if you look for it. If you don't see it, let me know and I'll send it to you if you're interested in looking for it. But I think it's a really important part of many of the clients that I work with specifically, and the clients that are attracted and called to work with me. I think they all sort of have this element in common, and it's this intersection between spirituality and mental health, and they start to kind of collide through the therapeutic process and the journey to worthiness. But I'm way ahead of myself, because this sort of happens during the process. But what people don't tend to know, and I know this is specific for me too, this was my decision to go to therapy, was very spiritual. It was very much like enough is enough. Like I got this gigantic pang that was like, it's time, you have to do this, you can't continue on the way you're doing. And it was like a full body expression. It wasn't just like a little thought in my head. No, it was just like a powerhouse full body moment where it was like I knew with every fiber of my being that I needed to do this, that something needed to change. And it didn't matter what it was going to take, it didn't matter what it was going to cost. I just needed to make a massive major change in my life. And in order to do that, I needed to invest in the support of somebody else. And I've given tons of accolades to my therapist that put me on this path, that supported me through navigating my own trauma. And realistically, I mean, I guess I just said I was going to talk about my spiritual journey through therapy, but I guess it's all part and parcel of where I need to get to and sort of set this up for you. But I mean, for me, like if you had told me when I started therapy, like you're going to have this really profound spiritual experience, I would have been like, that is not the case. Because to me, I didn't understand that there was anything that was spiritual outside of organized religion. I was very naive to the fact that spirituality was much bigger than what religion made it seem to be, because and I couldn't think of it outside of that concept. And that is, as a caveat, everybody is entitled to their own beliefs. I support whatever belief system. I support anything anybody thinks or says or does or believes in or has faith in. That is 100% okay with me. But for me, I never felt like that same connection that other people do, including members of my own family here, meaning my fiance and his family. I didn't really fit into that mold. So to me, I thought, okay, I'm just not spiritual, I guess. It's just not something that's for me. But what happened as I went through therapy, my eyes started to open, and it started off very, very, very small. With the words of affirmation, Louise Hay, these different words of these power words, and I used to listen to them all the time. And the more I became invested, the more I realized that my mental health and my connection to spirituality was the very thing that cultivated and catapulted my own growth and evolution. It was these two beautiful things that came into combination. And when they came into combination, I became a person that was then able to travel the self-healing path with a lot more ease and with a lot more awareness, because I think what it means to be spiritual for me anyways, and this is going to be different for every single person. It's up to you to really to understand and define what spirituality means to you. It doesn't have to mean any one thing. It can mean a multitude of things. It could be a blend together of many, many things. It doesn't have to be very streamlined in one specific way. It could be so many different factors. And a lot of the clients that I work with, actually, a lot of them say, like, I don't believe in any one thing. I believe in many things. Like, I actually sort of believe this from spirituality, and I believe this from this particular organized religion. I believe this from that particular organized religion. And this is what it means for me to be spiritual. And it's become a really important part in each and every one of my clients, their journey. But again, I'm ahead of myself because I just get to talking and I get excited and I lose my place. But the majority of the clients that I work with are what I call, and this is what I would define where I was too before I started in therapy, on the precipice of a spiritual awakening. But it's like you don't have that verbiage, you don't have that terminology just yet. You just know that something doesn't feel right. And for me, obviously, because I had gone through so much trauma in my very young youth, that was something that was really standing in my way of my own growth, and it required that element of therapy to really work through that and be able to release it and to practice forgiveness and self-forgiveness and all these things. But that needed to be cleared out before I could start to understand what spirituality meant to me and have this opening. And it left me able to have this awakening. And I think all my clients are in the same place where they come to me and they all have these same kind of questions in their mind. They're like, enough is enough. There's got to be more to life than this. Is this all I'm here for? Am I not meant to be anything outside of like mom and employee and wife and partner and all this stuff? Like, there's got to be something more than this. And it starts with those questions. And that's, I think, part of what gets you to that enough is enough phase. You start to ask these existential questions and become emotionally exhausted. And if you've been around here long enough, you know that emotional exhaustion is the term that I use to really describe what it means for a woman to experience the traditional midlife crisis, I guess, for lack of a better words. And it's not necessarily always in midlife, but it's sort of a crisis of self, let's call it that. Is the emotional exhaustion of adhering to supposed to culture for a lifetime, of doing things and following a plan that was never really meant for them, but that was cookie cutter and laid out and, kind of supposed to culture really encourages you to conform to this one way of doing things. If you do this one way, then you will be happy. But when that doesn't happen, it's like something's got to change. Something has got to give, because I am tired of feeling like I am the broken one. And that was part of what was my challenge was too, that I was living in this victim mentality. And I felt like I was this broken person, this broken thing that was beyond healing. And I didn't have that restoration of hope and optimism, which is another element of spirituality as it is defined by my terms, is this restoration of hope and optimism and understanding that just because you are where you are right now doesn't mean that things aren't going to change. And it doesn't mean that you can't take your power back and get into the driver's seat of your own life again and start to make decisions that are going to increase your energy, that are going to increase your vibe, that are going to start to magnetize and attract the things that you want in your life to you. And that brings about all of law of attraction and all those other things. And hopefully I'll get into that. Who knows where this is going to take me? I might forget. And if I forget, send me a comment and I will fill you in. But all this to say, it's like that element of spirituality and what it meant to me really allowed me to be pulled out of the depths of this self-doubt story, out of the depths of this victim mentality, and made me feel like I was in control again, because at that point I felt like the world was spinning out of control. And that's why I'm saying like that became too much for me. That's why I was like, okay, enough is enough. But again, I didn't know I was like 1 foot on this awakening. And if you told me you were about to have a spiritual awakening, I would have been like, that is cockamamie. I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm not religious at all. But again, I didn't have this knowledge. And that's what I think a lot of my clients come to me with, these same sorts of feelings. This like, man, there's got to be something wrong with me. I'm the problem. I feel broken. Enough is enough. Like, there's got to be more than life than this. What is my purpose? Why am I here? What is this world all about? And it varies from person to person, the extent of, or the extreme nature of these particular feelings. But once we connect, it's like, okay, these puzzle pieces are starting to come into place, and we begin to understand that this was the path they were on. They just didn't have the words or the verbiage to actually name it and understand that was what was happening. But for me, and I see it time and again, it always intersects and it always collides beautifully. And people go from feeling like they are victims in their life, like they're out of control. And before you know it, there's almost like a flip, like a light bulb switch, that things begin to shift. And it's like they begin to realize, wait a minute, hold on. I can make change. I can have an impact in my own life. I am not just little old me. I can make things happen for myself. I didn't even realize how powerful I was. And all of a sudden, as that begins to happen and that shift begins to happen, there's a restoration again, like I mentioned earlier, of hope and optimism. Like I feel more hopeful. Like I can do this. I can make shifts in my life. I can, and I don't have to continue adhering to supposed to culture. I can do things my way, and it's okay for me to just be me and redefine what life looks like for me. And then once that starts to happen, then they understand the power of their energy, the power of their thoughts, how oftentimes your thoughts can make manifest your reality, and the way you think and the way you like what you put out there in the world is what you will see back. And I always say it's like when you're having thoughts, it's like almost like a computer program. Like the thoughts that you think then program like what comes, like how you perceive the world, right? So if you continue to think I'm a victim, the world is happening to me, this is as good as it gets, I'm incapable of change, you can't teach an old dogs new tricks, like that is how you'll perceive the world. But once you start to have this spiritual shift, and again, even this in of itself and this like this hope and optimism piece is a part of spirituality. And it might not be a big part, but it is a vital part. That's where it starts. That's like the tip off. And then once you see that, and once you start to shift that energy and you understand like, man, I am a worthy person. I do deserve more. I deserve to flourish. I deserve to live a life that feels like it's in alignment with who I am. And you start to see things change around you. Then you begin to go down the rabbit hole and you begin to understand, okay, what is it about me that's now influencing my reality? And a lot of my clients, when they begin with me, they don't really, perhaps some do actually, some don't, but some of them don't really relate to the power of the universe. That's not really a terminology that really aligns with them. But by the end, they're like, man, the universe has my back. I can't believe it. This is incredible. I feel like I'm so deeply connected to what's around me, to other people that are around me. I feel like I'm connected to my own energy. I realize I'm made up of like more than just skin and bones. I am an energetic being living an energetic experience. I understand that I have this soul, and it just, things begin to flip. And that's why I say there's just so much intersectionality between spirituality and mental health, because as you travel the journey of mental health, it's almost impossible to avoid the spiritual part, at least in my perception. And that just might be because that's the type of clients, that I'm attracting that are meant to work with me, because I too have this very similar strong feeling towards what it means to be spiritual and what it means in terms of my mental health and what it prepares you for. And going through the journey to worthiness and walking the path and the therapeutic journey is that it sets you up for continual personal evolution, because the evolution doesn't just stop. You don't just get to where you're going, because I had this myself too. Like I went through this beautiful awakening with my therapist, and then we obviously our work was finished, but it didn't mean that the work stopped for me. It just gave me a whole new outlook and a whole new set of tools and a lot of knowledge and wisdom, inner body wisdom, because now I was connected to my intuition. And the intuition piece of it, to be spiritual again for me, and this might be different for you, is to really be connected deeply to your own intuition and to follow that inner guidance system, because that inner guidance system is connected directly to your soul, to what your soul wants, to what it needs to be fulfilled. And the more you listen to that, the more you listen to that intuition, and then you listen to your body and you follow what excites you, then it leads you down a new path. And once you are on that path, then you realize, okay, I'm okay to start taking chances. And this is when the universe really starts to speak to you, or spirituality really starts to speak to you. And it'll do it in a couple of ways, where you'll start to meet people kind of out of the blue, and you'll wonder, like, why did I meet this person? Synchronicities start to happen, where you start to perceive what might be coincidence, when in actual fact, it's like the universe has your back, and it's just like moving all the pieces. It's moving all the pieces for you. You start to see repeating numbers. You start to think of songs, and then they come on the radio. These are all signs that you're on the right path. And as you start to listen to those signs, it becomes a lot easier to move through the feeling of fear, because fear holds so many of us back. And that's what I was also able to do through my spiritual journey, was to really take that fear and use it as momentum to take the next step, to take the chance, and to know that that fear was a very it's a lower vibrational way of being, and it keeps you sort of stuck, and it keeps you grounded in a lower vibrational state. But if you can use that fear and use it to catapult you, and understand that fear is a defense mechanism and how the ego mind all plays into that, once you can make that connection, it's like, okay, I understand that my fear is trying to protect me, but I need to take this fear and understand, okay, I can continue to take baby steps. It is going to feel fearful. I am going to feel uncomfortable, but the more uncomfortable I am and the more steps I take forward, the more I'm aligning with my true purpose. Right? And that again is what spirituality gave me, the tenacity and the courage to continue to go and put one foot in front of the other and follow each individual breadcrumb. And if you don't know what a breadcrumb is, I always say the universe gives you a breadcrumb so that you know to go in this direction. It's like the path that you're meant to go, and you don't really know why you're doing things. Like, I just feel really called to this. My intuition's telling me I should do this particular thing. If you've had an opportunity present itself, or a pathway present itself, or a thought of what you'd like to do, it's like the breadcrumb then becomes apparent, and it's up to you to be like, okay, I'm going to pick up this breadcrumb. And it might be scary and it might be fearful, but I've learned enough to know that the universe does have my back, that if something is truly meant for me and I continue to take the steps towards it, then it will become my reality, and I will continue to walk that path. So it's like this whole kind of pathway that becomes apparent, but it starts with the feeling that something is wrong with me. Something's wrong with me. I don't fit in. I have so much trauma. I feel like the weight of the world is on my shoulders. I feel like I'm a victim. I feel like I have no power. And then as you walk the journey to worthiness, you come out on the other side realizing just how powerful you are. And you have a restored sense of, I can make something happen for myself. I don't have to continue to live a life as deemed by supposed to culture. I can cultivate something that feels very unique to me. And if people don't like me, and if people don't like what I'm doing, and if they aren't appreciative of the work that I'm doing, and they don't like the new me I'm becoming, that's okay. They can slip away. And that's why they say, as you go through the spirituality or the spiritual awakening, people and friends that you had before tend to drop off, because as you awaken to what is going on in the world, what is going on in the universe, as you start to perceive things in a new way, other people that haven't yet experienced that will fall off the map. And it's sad, and there's a grieving period, because obviously you've loved those people have been in your life for a reason, they've been a part of your inner circle, they've been a part of your life, but then it's almost, there's like an acceptance to it, like, okay, it's going to be okay. I want to surround myself with people that are willing to love me and support me and be there, and that are excited for this part of the journey, and that are excited about what I'm discovering, and that want to learn more. And if that means there are others that perhaps we no longer have the same level of relationship, that's okay too, because people come and go from your life. Some people are here for a lifetime, some people are here for a reason, some people are here for a season. It really just depends. And again, you begin to make peace with that as you realize that you don't have to just accept any old relationship to feel fulfilled. And I think that too is a really important part of my mental health journey, my spirituality journey, is understanding that I didn't just because it was a relationship in my life and I had it for a long time, doesn't mean that I needed to have it for a lifetime. It doesn't mean that I had to continue with that relationship if it wasn't serving my highest and greatest good. And that was a tough lesson to learn. And with it comes a bravery and ability to set boundaries and to understand what boundaries are that you never had before. It gives you purpose. It gives you focus. It restores your faith, and it restores your hope and optimism. And it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. When I always see it, when that light bulb goes on with my clients, and it always happens around session 5-6, it's like, wow, I get it now. Holy crap. And it's like this celebration, because you've got to kind of do the mental health half of it first before you can step into spirituality. But this is all my opinion. This is how I practice. This is how I found the technique that worked for myself and for my clients, and the experience that I had. Everybody is different, and that's okay. We're allowed to all be different. We don't have to all agree. Everyone is entitled to and allowed to have a belief system that is in alignment with their own heart and soul. So with that, I hope you found this video very helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions for me about what it might be like to work together, how we can work together, etc., please leave a comment below or send me a message. If you want to keep the conversation going about spirituality, please drop a comment below. But again, please, let's be respectful of everybody's beliefs, because all of our beliefs are unique and they are all different, and we don't have to have all the same belief systems to respect one another. So keep that in mind, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.